All right, here we go. Well, start all over. Introduce yourself, sir.
That's who we're gonna introduce.
Okay, today being October the 11th, 2013, the time is 12:56, and I'm interviewing Danny Jose Older on his last stretch of EMS tours as a paramedic.
That's right.
New York City, worked the South Bronx, Manhattan, and you did Brooklyn, right?
Hell yeah, most of my
Brooklyn.
career I was in Brooklyn.
All right. So this is going to be a nice interview about Mr. Danny Jose Older and his career in EMS and as a writer. First question, Danny.
Yes, sir.
How did you become involved in writing and your passion of books?
I mean, I've always written. Always. There was a long time, especially when I was first in EMS, where I didn't know what medium to use. So I was trying screenplays, I was writing essays. I was just all over the place, you know? And because I was so scattered, I really didn't know, where to turn. I was doing songwriting for a long time. I was getting nowhere with it. I was writing music for choreographers and for puppeteers, actually. But as far as a career goes, it wasn't really popping. So, thank God I had EMS to support me in the meantime, because that was holding it down. And then it was like 2008, I read that Junot Diaz book, The Brief and Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. I was reading Walter Mosley, Stephen King's book on writing, and I was reading Octavia Butler. And between all those things, it was like a punch in the face. It was like there was no way that I couldn't start writing books after reading those stories, because the voice was so true and the stories were so deep and meaningful to me and my experience, and I just was like, I have to write. Like, I have to write. It was like an engine. So let me just turn this ring off. So in 2009 is when I really sat down and started writing a book. That's when it first started.
Wow, so 4 years you have grown. Now I got a question for you. I see that you touch into the music, you touch into being a paramedic. You're a very well-rounded individual. You do a little bit of everything, and you do it very well.
Thank you, sir.
Is your parents, talk about a little bit about your parents and how they influence you and where you at today?
Yeah, good question. I mean, they've always been really supportive, for sure. Like, my mom is a Spanish professor and a Latin American literature doctor.
All right.
PhD. So I grew up with books everywhere. My sister's a writer too, and an avid reader, and so there's just always been books all over the house. And that was huge. I think I just growing up around books was really meaningful to me. And then, I would say that both of them too, my mom and my dad, as much as they gave love, they were also very very intelligent critics. Not in the sense that they would be, cut down at all, ever. But even when I was young, when I was really young, I wanted to be a political cartoonist. That was like my first career goal.
Wow.
And I was like 11. And that's what I wanted to do. And they so supported me in that. And in that support, they were also really good at being like, this is a great drawing, but how can it be more meaningful? How can you say something rather than just show what's happening? Like, how can you really tell that story? And they did it in a way that made me want to do more without, cutting down. And I feel like that is an amazing skill. Like, when I look back on how they nurtured, my passions, that's impressive to me. And I think they did it just out of natural love. I don't think it was never like, let's make him get this career. It was just like, this is what he loves to do. How can we help him do it best? And so they gave, they told me the truth about my work, which is the best thing you can do, while simultaneously making sure that I kept doing it and encouraging it,
Good. Looking forward to your how can you say, future endeavors.
Endeavors?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think is going to happen? I'll give you a 5-year plan. In 5 years, where do you stand?
That's a great question. I want to, most of all, I want to keep writing.
Okay.
So, this 3-book deal just happened, which is like, to me, that's the most exciting thing, because it means the opportunity to write more. And the idea of writing a book, that's already been sold is kind of exciting, and that's going to be a new experience. I haven't done that yet. I'm working on a graphic novel series. I have a young adult book that's coming out in 2 years, and all those things are just like so exciting. And that makes me happy. And beyond that, just the other best thing about writing, besides being able to write more, is the conversation that you have with readers. You know, so like the more people that will now read my books, the more in depth the conversation goes, and the more widespread we get to really talk about these things. Because a lot of what I write about, you know, is stuff that isn't always easy to talk about. It's like difficult conversations that we don't always know how to have about race, about gender, about all these things. So that's exciting. I mean, I want to see movies and HBO shows and whatnot of my books. Like, I would love to see that. You know what I mean? Of course, I think every writer would in a way, for sure. And I would just love to keep writing. You know, I have other books too that are waiting in the wings to come out, and other stories that are waiting to be told, and short stories and essays. And you know, when I think about leaving off from EMS, which is what I'm about to do, I envision a life for myself that's full of creativity, like full of new endeavors and new adventures that are really around creativity and truth-telling, and you know, challenging narratives, counter narratives.
Sticking to the writing aspect of this conversation we're having. You said leaving EMS. You ever thought of writing a memoir of your entire experience EMS? I think that would be an interesting book. A little give back to the EMS world and the EMS gods of how we deal with situations. Because a lot of people don't know what EMS is about and what is an EMT or paramedic and what we do. They just know us as the ambulance people here.
Right. That's true.
So instead of writing a fictional book, write about your life.
No, I agree with you.
You know, we have many jobs that you go, what the hell?
Right. And you know, people have been asking me to write that book for like years. And I will, I promise. And I know one of the first steps I have to take to write the book is to move on from this job. Yes. I don't think I could write it while I was in it. And I think the other challenge that's going to be is, how do you take all these disparate stories and make something that makes sense out of them? Or do you? You know, maybe they just stay what they are. Because I think there's almost a power and a truth to how they come out, you know, when I tweet them or when I put them on Facebook. Because they're just these random little moments. Mm-hmm. That's what our job is. You know what I mean? Yes. Our job doesn't necessarily have the through line. Doesn't have the through line of like, you know, and then this meaningful thing happened, which was that. And, you know what I mean? Like, we just do all these jobs, and a lot of them are bullshit, and some of them are really fucked up, and some of them are like beautiful.
11 minutes for them.
You know,
but I think in that aspect, you're gonna incorporate your emotions in the
absolutely, yeah.
And it'll be nice to see, what do you think? Instead of saying, okay, the neighborhood drunk Luca, you know, you think like, you know, like we spoke earlier, you said you don't, you know, sometimes you blame the system or us or for the situation. But that's good though. Okay. So we're gonna expect that in the near future, right?
The future. I don't know how near, but yeah,
well,
it's gonna happen.
Okay, in the future. Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
Let me think of one good question, one really good question. All right.
What you got?
Any regrets in life?
No.
Any regrets in staying in EMS as long as you have done?
No, that's a great question. That's a really good question. I really like that question. I mean, because it's a challenging thing. It's like finding that balance between, you know, how do you write and do what you love, and how do you make a living? And EMS, as much as, you know, I love it and it's been an amazing job, it's not what I was put on this world to do. But in a way it is, because I've done it for 10 years. So yes, on the one hand, it's provided for me and it's supported me and it's given me stability, which is like the greatest gift you can ask for as an artist. You need that, especially while you're trying to figure out what your focus is going to be and what all those years I was talking about earlier, where it's like I didn't know where I was, you know, I wasn't bringing in income from my work. I didn't even know what medium to work in. I needed that stability, and now it's, you know, it's coming to a time when that's not true anymore. But this is 10 years of life-changing experiences. Like, I really feel like I have grown up so much because of being a paramedic. It has shown me the world in another way. It has shown me how to be involved in the world and be an active participant in the world in another way. And, you know, it's taught me so much about humanity, about myself, about forgiveness, about justice. Like, those are things that I never would have learned without every single one of these jobs, even the ones that I hate and that I curse out, and that I'm sitting there being like, why? You know, even the shit covered, piss covered, dumbass situations that happen again and again, all those things have been my teachers, you know. And that doesn't mean they're easy, it doesn't mean it's been fun, but all those challenges were things that I needed as a human being and as a writer to move on to the next stage of my life.
All right. I mean, very nice. Very nice. One more thing.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell future writers, first of all, future paramedics, second of all, about life and how to succeed in life?
You should have a show. You should have a show, brother. I'm serious.
It's just coming out.
I know, but I'm saying you should really have like a fucking radio show, like a web blog or something. But yeah, well, paramedics, you know, it's just like, I don't know what I would even say. You know, it's like you finding that balance. The challenge for a paramedic, for anyone involved in like, you know, healthcare really, is finding that balance between self-care and compassion, and knowing how to walk that line between not over putting yourself into every situation and giving too much and burning out, and not withdrawing into yourself so deeply that you become just a shell and you don't care. And we're always going to be challenged in that line. Even if we think we found it, something will happen to tip us over to one side or the other. And we always have to make sure we're, you know, conscious of where we stand on that line. Because when we get too sloppy and fall to one side or the other, people die. I mean, that's just the truth of our job, is that life and death is always with us. And more so than any other job. So, you know, always be conscious of that line and where you stand on it. And if you need to take breaks, take breaks. You know, like, don't burn out, because everyone will suffer, including yourself. That's all I have to say about that. Writers, write. You know, like, I think there's a lot of messages in the world right now telling us, especially writers of color, that our stories don't matter and that we're not good enough and that our characters don't matter. And it's so important that we tell our stories and that we know that they matter, and that our characters, our loved ones, matter, and that we don't take that and internalize it. That message that these things aren't relevant or that they're not somehow related to the deeper truths of humanity, that's bullshit. We have to tell our stories. It is about survival. So I would just say write and write and write, and live and live and live, and read and enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy to get caught up in the challenges of the industry and the complexities and how long everything takes and the frustrations of being a writer. Those are easy to focus on, and they're real. But, like, I would say to writers, like, love the process as much as you can and be present in it as much as you can, because it's an amazing journey, you know, and especially if you are really true to your voice, and once you find that moment where you click in a voice that you find to be true, and you start to make friends with your characters and fall in love with your stories, it becomes like there's a smoothness and a fluidity to the process that happens. And that doesn't mean it's easy. It's still challenging, but you're moving gracefully through those challenges, and you're being present in those challenges, and you're learning from them instead of feeling like they're trying to push you back down. And so it's like, yes, keep writing, like, yes, keep loving, keep living, fall apart, put yourself back together, do all those things you need to do to keep doing it, because we need your voices in the world. Like, none of us can do this alone.
Wow, that was deep.
Shall be fine, 100.
Okay, so, you know, I said that was the last question,
You
but
can ask as many questions you want, bro. There's no time.
you said progression,
Yeah.
and make sure you fluent in whatever you do, right? So here we go. I need you
Yeah.
to look directly at the camera and tell your mother and your dad
Listen to Yanla.
how do you feel at this present moment, sitting there, knowing where you're going with life, the direction you're leading, and whatever you want to tell them. If it's whatever it is, your mom and your dad are right here, and they go, Danny, ¿qué tú quieres decirme? Boom, just like that. Go ahead.
You're a mess, Carlos.
There you go.
I would tell them, no, I would say thank you. And I have said thank you. I think it's so important to say thank you. But I would say, thank you for giving me the gift of trusting my inspiration and trusting my inner voice and believing in myself enough to take risks and to make sacrifices for, my art and for doing what I love, because that is the greatest gift you can give to a child. So,
All right.
Gracias.
Nice. Booyah! Carlos TV, baby.